All right, welcome to the Digital at Scale podcast. I'm your host, Bradley Taylor, and today I'm joined again with my two co-founders, Max and Adam, and today we're going to be talking about a lot of Apple news. So Apple just had a recent keynote where they introduced Apple Intelligence, which is their new play on artificial intelligence and how that integrates into your operating system, into your phone, and really every aspect of your life going forward and what that kind of means for you. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the backlash, their private cloud that they're promoting, and what your trust might be in that after some recent Apple leaks around 7.5. So it'll be interesting to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about Nvidia. So Nvidia recently just surpassed Apple and Microsoft, and I think came back down as the most valuable company in the world. And most people just think of Nvidia as a chip maker, but they also do a lot of software and SDK work as well. They have a new concept called digital humans that they released at a conference in Taiwan last week. So we're going to take a look at that, what that means for the future of customer experiences, and also what it means for gaming and how we communicate with each other. So with that, we're going to start off by looking at the Apple keynote, and we're going to watch Tim Cook announce Apple Intelligence and a little bit about what the core principles that go into this are. So let's do that. We'll talk about it on the flip side.
Been our goal to design powerful personal products that enrich people's lives by enabling them to do the things that matter most as simply and easily as possible. We've been using artificial intelligence and machine learning for years to help us further that goal. Recent developments in generative intelligence and large language models offer powerful capabilities that provide the opportunity to take the experience of using Apple products to new heights. So as we look to build in these incredible new capabilities, we want to ensure that the outcome reflects the principles at the core of our products. It has to be powerful enough to help with the things that matter most to you. It has to be intuitive and easy to use. It has to be deeply integrated into your product experiences. Most importantly, it has to understand you and be grounded in your personal context, like your routine, your relationships, your communications, and more. And of course, it has to be built with privacy from the ground up. Together, all of this goes beyond artificial intelligence. It's personal intelligence, and it's the next big step for Apple.
So let's chat a little bit about these concepts here. That seems to be a lot of what people are talking about right now. Like, what needs to go into the core, belief system, into the core values of rolling out artificial intelligence. So Apple here has defined their 5, what I would consider core values or principles when implementing this. So it has to be powerful. So it has to work. It has to be intuitive. How can people take the most, or get the most out of this? It has to be integrated in your daily life. The integration layer is absolutely important. Personal context. I think whether it's personal, whether it's your corporation, you absolutely need that kind of personal context. And then, of course, private. And we've seen, especially with organizations, privacy and data privacy is key. I guess, what do you two think? Well, one, are these good principles to ground yourself in, or what do you think they're missing?
I think these are good principles, especially coming from a company. I think as far as Apple products go, like intuitive is huge for people. Personal, they're all good, but I think personal just kind of works, maybe, just how it is. I'd be really curious from a privacy perspective, how a non-technical user thinks of it. I know they value their privacy, but just the sheer amount of data just overall on the web that people are sending around, until there's a breach or something like that, do they even comprehend how much it's getting passed around? even if it's just between like Apple servers and their phone or computer or whatever it might be. But I think at a core those are really, really, really nice. But yeah, it's interesting seeing personal and private right next to each other like that, because they're potentially almost at odds.
How about you, Max?
Yeah, or really hard to make personal and private, right? Like it's always that same thing. Like I want the AI to do everything for me, so it needs to know everything, or else it wouldn't be able to understand your patterns or assist you in any ways. Overall, I agree with these, things they point out, especially about integrated. Of course, the Apple ecosystem will win here because they're gonna have it everywhere, like they show. And I think we've talked about this before, but reports are showing that people are using AI mostly in products they already use. In how those Canva is bringing AI, Contentful or Confluence, everybody. So these making it part of the Apple ecosystem, I think is going to be, blow up. I like to see added to that maybe something about ownership, right? Because it's not the same thing as privacy.
No, it's a very, very good point, is that just because your data is private doesn't necessarily mean you own it, or where it's stored. And I think the things that I would also like to see, I think it's a good start, but I think two things that are on there is trust and transparency, right? You have to be able to trust what you're looking for or what you're looking at, and it has to be transparent. And one of my biggest gripes about Apple is their closed nature. They say everything's private and they say everything's there, but it's typically, all their source code is closed source, even though it's primarily built off of open source technologies. So you kind of have to take their word for it. So, we kind of just have to, take their word for it on that. But I do agree with, like, personal context and integrations are two things that make it powerful. I think those are really two things that then make it powerful. So I don't know if those should be core beliefs, let alone more implementation techniques, so to speak.
Yeah, well, part of this is sales too. This isn't just like a developer talk necessarily. I mean, they're always selling. They're a company. That's their goal, is to get more people using it so they can sell more products. So there's always going to be a spin like this, and they're also trying to cut off any sort of developer feedback they might come across. So if you are announcing this to developers, there's going to be people there. They're going to ask these questions, and if they didn't put that there, then I think they're it looks bad.
So I think, it's great that they're looking at personal privacy and the personal context. So they do kind of talk a little bit about this. So I'm going to share part of the keynote where they talk about the personal context and how they plan to keep it secure. And we'll talk about it on the other side and see if this really is going to make people feel secure, or if this is just another company trying to harvest your data. So there's definitely some debate about that.
It protects your privacy at every step, and it is deeply integrated into our platforms and throughout the apps you rely on to communicate, work, and express yourself. Let's take a closer look at Apple Intelligence, starting with its incredible capabilities. Then
at its capabilities first. We're going to take a look at its capabilities first, and then we'll talk about the privacy.
We'll tell you about its unique architecture. And after that, we'll show you how it elevates so many of your everyday experiences. Let's begin with capabilities. Apple Intelligence will enable your iPhone, iPad, and Mac to understand and create language, as well as images, and take action for you to simplify interactions across your apps. And what's truly unique is its understanding of your personal context. Language and text are fundamental to how we communicate and work. And the large language models built into Apple Intelligence deliver deep, natural language understanding, making so many of your day-to-day tasks faster and easier. For example, your iPhone can prioritize your notifications to minimize unnecessary distractions while ensuring you don't miss something important. Apple Intelligence also powers brand new writing tools that you can access system-wide to feel more confident in your writing. Writing tools can rewrite, proofread, and summarize text for you, whether you're working on an article or blog post, condensing ideas to share with your classmates, or looking over a review before you post it online. And they're available automatically across Mail, Notes, Safari, Pages, Keynote, and even your third-party apps. In addition to language, Apple Intelligence offers a host of capabilities for images. From photos to emojis and GIFs, it's so much fun to express ourselves visually. And now you can create totally original images to make everyday conversations even more enjoyable. And because Apple Intelligence understands the people in your photo library, you can personalize these images for your conversations. So when you wish a friend a happy birthday, you can create an image of them surrounded by cake, balloons, and flowers to make it extra festive. And the next time you tell mom that she's your hero, you can send an image of her in a superhero cape to really land your point. You can create images in 3 unique styles: sketch, illustration, and animation. In addition to messages, this experience is built into apps throughout the system, like Notes, Freeform, Keynote, and Pages. Another way Apple Intelligence is deeply impactful is its ability to take action across your apps. The greatest source of tools for taking actions is already in your pocket with the apps you use every day. And we have designed Apple Intelligence so it can tap into these tools and carry out tasks on your behalf. So you can say things like, pull up the files that Jaws shared with me last week, or show me all the photos of Mom, Olivia, and me, or play the podcast that my wife sent the other day. We're designing Apple Intelligence to be able to orchestrate these and hundreds of other actions for you, so you can accomplish more while saving time.
So one of the biggest gripes that I ever had with Siri was its ability to take action and really understand me. I never used Siri, and I feel that the ability to take action, understanding the language, understanding the context. What confidence do y'all have that this is going to actually finally have an AI that we can actually do things on our behalf? And would you actually trust it to do things on your behalf outside of just playing the podcast or doing things on your phone, but actually taking actions outside, which we know is going to happen with these apps?
I mean, I think you have to see, like, I got a couple things in my mind right now, but if I'm curious, like, when you ask it to do these things, like if it's just kind of creating it and like prompting you to send it, or if it's like actually going to do it. And I think there's limits depending on how deep you are into their ecosystem. So if I'm not using if I'm using Google Photos and I'm not using just the Apple Photos, like that feature's just gone for me. Or if I'm not using their mail client, like, is it just gone for me? So I use an Android phone, but I have a Mac computer that I use. My family, my kids have like iPads and stuff. There's definitely like a disconnect in the world, but even on that Mac, I still use, I guess, like 98% like third party, including Google tools. So like, I don't know how much it would help me. So I'm curious, like, at its baseline, like, what can it do for me? Because I don't see it being different enough right now with what Google's announced and other services for me to like try to switch all those services over to Apple's.
Yeah, you're the green bubble in the family. I don't know if yeah, you're right. I mean, you have to be in Apple's ecosystem, and even someone like myself who, I have an iPhone, I have a Mac. I don't use any of the Mac or Apple apps. I think they're subpar to a lot of the third-party apps. So we'll be interested to see what SDK they go. Max, what about you? I know you're kind of you always you have PC, Mac, Linux.
Yeah, I have a little bit of everything, and this has been making me jealous for a couple weeks now. Since the release for this GPT app that they have for Mac. That was the first thing that I was like, "Ooh, that's nice." It's into the ecosystem. You would expect to trust the same way you trust Apple, and it would probably be used day to day. I don't know if we're gonna see this other example of the calculator later, but these apps like will start spreading out. Being part of the ecosystem, I think that's gonna be nice. I don't know if it's enough to change, like you were saying, Adam. Like I wouldn't change if I'm an Android guy. Like I wouldn't go and buy an iPad just because of what they presented today. But I would start using it if I had it already, for sure. Because if I already have my iPhone, I already have my Mac, and now I can start sending these weird emojis with like images of the people I'm talking with. That's super cool, and that only opens up like a little bit of, I know what AI is. My grandma is gonna start using AI tomorrow. I would give people iPhones. It sounds kind of weird, but hey, here's a way you can try AI quickly. Just give this a go.
That's so true that this is going to help with distribution a lot, because I still, almost daily or at least weekly, I have someone that's like, oh, do you know you could use AI to summarize like an article or something like that, or just rewrite this? And it's like, I think the more that we get into people using AI, one, the less scared of it they'll be. And I think two, it'll start to spur different ideas of how they can use it, because integrating it so closely into the apps that they use, like you said, your grandma will start using AI. But that also leads a huge thing, because we saw this when we started going out and selling ourselves, like, hey, we can do all this amazing things for you, just give us all your data. We'll pass
it's also
that,
like,
right?
Maybe don't give us all your data. And I think Apple has been making a long shot at this as a plan. Like integrations is the key. And we've known that, right? We don't need the data itself, just need these platforms to have the integrations to communicate between each other. And when you look at the Apple ecosystem, with notifications, they've been doing a lot of this. They've made notifications more actionable, more personable, more aware of what you're doing and where you're at and your personal context, as they call it. I think the APIs are kind of set even for those third-party apps. If you're a Google Photos user, you still get some of benefits of, bring me back that photo I looked at. Yeah,
well, I think it's going to be interesting though. Well, I was going to say that I think then if we're giving third party, what then access to those third parties have? Because the other piece we know is that it's not about the data that's being sourced on, but it's about the data that's then being asked, the responses that are coming back, what you liked, what was your intention. So do third parties get this information? Is that held back? I think that's one of the things I'd be definitely looking for in the terms of service, is that piece. So we talked a little bit about personal context. Let's watch that piece, because this is such an important just aspect to this whole, to this ecosystem. If you have the more context, the better the AI is. But once again, you have to do it in a secure way. So let's talk about what they talk about, personal intelligence, and how they plan on keeping this secure.
So you can accomplish more while saving time. There's one more critical building block for personal intelligence, and that's an understanding of your personal context. Apple Intelligence is grounded in your personal information and context, with the ability to retrieve and analyze the most relevant data from across your apps, as well as to reference the content on your screen, like an email or calendar event you're looking at. This can be incredibly useful in so many moments throughout the day. Suppose one of my meetings is being rescheduled for late in the afternoon, and I'm wondering if it's going to prevent me from getting to my daughter's play performance on time. Apple Intelligence can process the relevant personal data to assist me. It can understand who my daughter is, the play details she sent several days ago, the time and location for my meeting, and predicted traffic between my office and the theater. Understanding this kind of personal context is essential for delivering truly helpful intelligence, but it has to be done right. You should not have to hand over all the details of your life to be warehoused and analyzed in someone's AI cloud. With Apple Intelligence, powerful intelligence goes hand in hand with powerful privacy. Let me tell you more about its architecture and how it's built with privacy at the core. The cornerstone of the personal intelligence system is on-device processing. We have integrated it deep into your iPhone, iPad, and Mac, and throughout your apps, so it's aware of your personal data without collecting your personal data. This is only possible through our unique integration of hardware and software and our years-long investment in building advanced silicon for on-device intelligence. Deeply integrated generative models require immense processing power. And with our most advanced Apple silicon, the A17 Pro and M family of chips, we have the computational foundation to power Apple Intelligence. This personal intelligence system is comprised of highly capable large language and diffusion models that are specialized for your everyday tasks and can adapt on the fly to your current activity. It also includes an on-device semantic index that can organize and surface information from across your apps. When you make a request, Apple Intelligence uses its semantic index to identify the relevant personal data and feeds it to the generative models so they have the personal context to best assist you. Many of these models run entirely on device. There are times, though, when you need models that are larger than what fits in your pocket today. Servers can help with this, but traditionally, servers can also store your data without you realizing it and use it in ways you did not intend. And since server software is only accessible to its owners, even if a company says it's not misusing your data, you're unable to verify their claim or if it changes over time. In contrast, when you use an Apple device like your iPhone, you are in control of your data, where it is stored, and who can access it. And because the software image for your iPhone is accessible to independent experts, they can continuously verify its privacy. We want to extend the privacy and security of your iPhone into the cloud to unlock even more intelligence for you. So we have created Private Cloud Compute. Private Cloud Compute allows Apple Intelligence to flex and scale its computational capacity and draw on even larger server-based models for more complex requests while protecting your privacy. These models run on servers we've especially created using Apple Silicon. These Apple Silicon servers offer the privacy and security of your iPhone from the silicon on up, draw on the security properties of the Swift programming language, and run software with transparency built in. When you make a request, Apple Intelligence analyzes whether it can be processed on device. If it needs greater computational capacity, it can draw on private cloud compute and send only the data that's relevant to your task to be processed on Apple Silicon servers. Your data is never stored or made accessible to Apple. It's used exclusively to fulfill your request. And just like your iPhone, independent experts can inspect the code that runs on these servers to verify this privacy promise. In fact, private cloud compute cryptographically ensures your iPhone, iPad, and Mac will refuse to talk to a server unless its software has been publicly logged for inspection. This sets a brand new standard for privacy and AI and unlocks intelligence you can trust.
I feel like he was stretching on this one.
Yeah, I gotta say about this. It's like, hey, don't trust with this cloud, but trust us and trust our auditors. Like,
Yeah.
one, I didn't know you could actually independently private audit the code. Like, who is that? First off, I have a
It sounds
I don't know
like
if I trust it.
I think they wanted to talk about it, but like, there's just things that they need to send. I think it's more like the delivery of it all, where, just like you said, it's on your phone. Don't trust servers. And like 25 seconds later, servers. But don't worry, it's running our chip. And don't worry, it's running a secure programming language. I'm like, that's not always what's insecure. Like, that's the code. It's not what's being stored or like the transmission of it or access to those servers. And then in true Apple form, like giving it, like a marketing name. What do they call it? Like personal compute or something like that.
Personal context, yeah.
So
and the virtual cloud, private cloud.
Yeah, I mean, this is at the developer conference, right? So yeah, this is the recorded version, right? But it's like not technical enough for a developer, but still too technical for like an everyday user. So like an everyday user would probably just see it and be like, I don't know half those things. I'm just gonna. It's a nice, pretty background. I'm gonna trust this guy. But from a developer perspective, I have 1,000 questions about it.
Yeah, but at the same time, it speaks to me that they're following the right patterns in a way. They talk about not storing data, not having anything at rest. Everything is like pulled at the time of request, goes back and forth. We know it's letting out a lot of things because even then data is being stored, logging mechanisms, anything you need to audit this, it's also a source of information. So yeah, they don't go into details, and them saying like server to server communication is bad, but our servers are good, that doesn't make it any more trustier.
Yeah, exactly. You have no idea. There's no way I can go and audit Apple. There's no way that I don't know how to audit the we're developers, right? How do we audit that this is actually being used correctly? I do have to hand it to them though. They were out ahead, and they talked about our year's investment in the M1 chip. You talked about earlier, being jealous. And I think when the chips first came out, I was like, what are these new chips with on device running? I think you're right. Directionally, they're going the right way, but it's still the everyone else is bad, just trust us kind of message, which, yeah, I still think trust but verify.
Yeah, and he's super vague when mentioning it's like, basically saying we try to run everything on device, but there's occasions when we can't. And it's like, okay, what happens at that point in time? Like, how does a user know that? I know we'll see something later in the keynote talking about GPT and OpenAI, but I'm curious, just like from an everyday user's perspective, like at what point did they hit that? That it requires more, and how often does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, they've gotten better, like with like location, it'll notify you like, hey, this app is using your location. But once again, data flying around in those integrations, whether it be, oh, it's not using my pictures, but it's using what I asked about it, right? Is that part of your data now? Or is that just part of processing? Because these are questions I would have. And then also too, the whole trust thing. Well, they talk about, oh, you can trust us, you can do this, it's transparent. Well, this just also coincided with their recent release with 17.5, and we'll watch that video here. Great follower I follow on TikTok that does some news, but we'll see after this bug how many people actually trust Apple with that data, especially after this. This is a little scary, to tell you the truth.
Guys, do not update your iPhone until you've watched this. Apple is in yet another new scandal today because people who have updated to the new iOS 17.5 are saying that it's brought back old photos that they've deleted. Just think about that for a second. And these aren't pictures that they just deleted in the last 30 days. The person who started this Reddit thread says they permanently deleted very sensitive pictures they made with their partner 3 years ago in 2021. But after updating to the latest iOS, they magically reappeared in the recent Photos album. And it's not just them. It seems there's a bunch more. One said 4 pictures they deleted in 2010 reappeared repeatedly. And another person said, and warning, this is by far the most terrifying one, they completely wiped their iPad using official Apple guides before selling it to a friend. That friend called him today after updating their iPad, asking why his old pictures have suddenly appeared in their photos. And some of those photos included some revealing images. So if you have a family member or friend with one of your old devices, maybe it's time to give them a call.
I don't know if it was in the description of this or if it was like one of the top comments, but it was like, hey mom, like about that phone I gave you, but do we know if it was
It's funny, I actually have a couple
showed up in the cloud, or
I think that was the title of it.
Okay, yeah. Did they is it in the cloud, or is it actually getting like pulled down to the devices?
Well, that's the question, because I think, when you delete them on device, and if you have Apple Photos hooked up, like, one of the nice things about it is, like, when you get a new phone, it's literally just like hook up your iCloud and it's there. So my assumption is that they got loaded in from the cloud, their secure cloud that they just talked about. So it's like, okay, yeah, trust us, but then you're gonna do things like this. I'm sure it was cherry picked. I'm sure it was very isolated, but still, this lack of transparency, thinking that, hey, I just deleted all these photos and now they're showing up on my friends or worse, strangers' iPhones. I mean, I take pictures of my driver's license. I take pictures of my passport. I take pictures of, things that then, are more sensitive than like NSFW stuff, right? So this is a huge, I guess, red flag for me.
I'm
Huge.
really curious about this, like how it, like if what scenarios like cause this to happen. Like if it's because if they're not logged in with their iCloud, it means the phone, even if the guy said he wiped it, is still somehow like paired up with it. So I mean, I'd love to ask the guy more questions, like if he like went on another device to his cloud, is he seeing it there? Or is it only when he's on the phone that he's seeing it? So, but
Yeah.
either way, like it shouldn't happen, especially if you've wiped it, for sure.
I can
Yeah,
see
that
a
is scary.
conversation going on with the developer and their team, like, hey, you need to make an action that's going to be allow people to delete photos and then take them back and then have them in the index cloud. Like push it out because we have this announcement, and oops, they left like that one line in the code that just returns everything. Because we all know deleted is like deleted flag, in most cases, unless you're doing good to your privacy terms. Yeah, it's huge leak.
Until CCPA and GDPR, deleted was never really deleted by law. Now, if you, and everyone can go and ask, especially if you're a California resident, European resident, ask any company for your data that they have on you and have it be deleted. But I think ultimately where this goes is I think we're moving to a world that's cloudless and having our own personal clouds. I think that it's really the only way to go, that you're really going to truly trust what's there is if you have control over your own data. And with storage limits, processing limits only getting better and faster, I think, they're already moving towards on-device processing, and that's only going to continue, I think, in the future. But I think that's only going to be the time where I truly trust this, is if it's in
Very
our
hard
own
to think about.
infrastructure and our own stuff.
Thinking about that with like the latest years we've had with the Internet of Things, explosion now, like in the last decade, the next step of this, of course, is like now I want my devices to communicate across them. I want to tell my phone that I want a coffee, and then my coffee machine gets started and it knows the time and what coffee I have in my fridge. And I don't see how you can have personal storage in that way. I mean, it's always going to be like some provider telling you that they provide you your own storage, your own little piece of cloud. But trust is going to be, I don't know how we're going to be able to really trust any of these services.
You have to trust everything from the data the model was trained on, from the data that was used in your context to generate that response, and every single prompting and every single little tweak it does in between. If you can't audit all of those things, you have no idea how your AI is biased, how its data, how its quote unquote life experience, affects that response. Just like if I ask somebody, from a different, part of the world question, they're going to give me a different life experience, just like a different LLM. So if you don't know that, I don't think you can fully trust what these tools give you when you're talking about a personal context. Obviously, if I'm writing a blog post, I need to trust it less. But if I'm having it make decisions about, my kids, about my life, about critical things that might be there, or even taking action, I need to trust that data. So
in that sense, just one more thing on that, like
Okay.
just being very present during those interactions. You're asking things, Now we're getting into a world where AI is doing things for you in the background and letting you know about it. Like, I made this message a priority for you. This one notification from your orders or your product research, I've decided to put that first. Now you're not only answering what I need, you're pushing me in directions you think that I want. So are going to have a process of, I trust what this AI understands.
This is already a problem in how we do our feeds. We're just being pushed what we're being told. But then next time you're with like your partner and you're on the same TikTok or reel or something like that, look at the comments. See which ones are at the top for you versus your partner or someone else. I bet you they're different. So not only are they controlling the content that's there, that an AI algorithm has given you, they're also controlling the conversation that's had and what you've and the perception of that content is really tailored to you. So and we're all in our in our siloed ecosystems, from pricing to everything, you don't know what everyone else's feed says. So you have no idea what that bias is. You have no idea this transparency. So yeah. So now that we're going to have all this, we're going to be seeing this in all of our apps and experiences. I'm not going to go through all of these. They talk about experiences with Siri, some of the mail writing tools, which you saw, which is like rewriting, proofreading, summarizing. But let's take a look at some of the updates to Siri and kind of how that is and how that's going to be put into the link.
Form your apps and experiences across iOS 18, iPadOS 18, and macOS Sequoia. From a big leap forward for Siri to powerful tools for writing and communication and fun visual ways to express yourself. Let's start with Siri. Here's Kelsey to tell you more.
Today, Siri helps you get everyday tasks done quickly and easily. In fact, Siri users make 1.5 billion voice requests every single day. 13 years ago, we introduced Siri, the original intelligent assistant, and we had an ambitious vision for it. We've been steadily building towards that vision. And now, thanks to the incredible power of Apple Intelligence, we have the foundational capabilities to take a major step forward. So we can make Siri more natural, more contextually relevant, and of course, more personal to you. Right off the bat, you'll see Siri's got a new look. Let me show you. When you talk to Siri, you'll notice it's more deeply integrated into the system experience with this elegant glowing light that wraps around the edge of your screen. And you can speak to Siri more naturally, thanks to richer language understanding capabilities. Even if I stumble over my words, Siri understands what I'm getting at. What does the weather look like for tomorrow at Muir Beach? Oh wait, I meant Muir Woods.
The forecast is calling for clear skies in the morning near Muir Woods National Monument.
Sometimes it takes me a beat to figure out what I actually want to ask Siri, and now it follows right along. Siri also maintains conversational context, so I can follow up and say, create an event for a hike there tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Hike is scheduled for 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on June 11th.
I didn't have to mention Muir Woods again. Siri understood what I meant when I said there. There are also certain times when you might not want to speak to Siri out loud. What's great is that now, at any time, you have the option to type to Siri. With just a double tap at the bottom of the screen, I can quickly and quietly ask Siri to set an alarm. And you can switch between text and voice, communicating in whatever way feels right for the moment. We're also laying the groundwork for some brand new ways that Siri will be able to support you. One of which is its extensive product knowledge. Siri now holds a great deal of information about features and settings and can answer thousands of questions when you want to know how to do something on your iPhone, iPad, or Mac. Even if you don't know exactly what a feature is called, you can just describe it, and Siri will find the info you're looking for. Like this. How can I write a message now and have it be delivered tomorrow? Siri understood what feature I was referring to, and now I have step-by-step guidance on how to use the new Send Later feature in Messages. Everything I've showed you so far will be available from the moment you start using Apple Intelligence. And over the course of the next year, we'll be rolling out more.
I think it's funny, they say you can now type to Siri. I think if you had rolled that out when it first came, I might actually use Siri a little bit more often, but I thought that was pretty hilarious. But yeah, it sounds like conversational context. They're just, we've for the past year been talking with LLMs like this. Do you think this will have, people using Siri more?
I haven't used Siri in a long time, like when I was just playing around with it and whatnot. How often do you see people using it?
None. I use it to set timers. That is literally about it. It's the only thing that it understood, right? Like if you try to do anything more than that, or if I wanted to look up something, even like Google Home, like those kind of personal assistants weren't very smart. So I kind of laughed when they said the first intelligent system. I was like,
Yeah, intelligence wasn't as
I
strong.
don't know about that.
I personally use it as much as I can. I'll say that. Like throughout the years, it has failed me over and over again, never doing and answering anything intelligently. but I always try it. More so when I want to interact with my phone and I don't have it like at hand's reach. Like, hey, call somebody, send a message, change the song, play me one thing, or reminder stuff like that. But it was always very bad. I'm actually very looking forward to it. Start using it. It looks like it's ChatGPT function calling, but they just provided all the tools that they already had. So yeah, I know they always had those tools in there, and now they have the power of an LLM to process conversation. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. I think having it a little bit more on there. I have been using it a bit more for it's gotten a lot better, speech to text dictation. I hate texting, and it's just been a lot better with that. I remember before it was horrible at it. I would have to spend more time fixing what it wrote than it would have been to just type it out, but it's gotten a lot better in that respect. So yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes, or how that rolls out.
I'm curious how much of it they're even processing on device. I was trying to read it, but I think at the bottom, when she was asking tell me about this feature, it said Apple user guide. So I'm curious just what the breadth of questions you can ask it are, for the on device processing part. Obviously, there's no way it knows everything on the web, and those are very specific questions, which I don't. Personally, I can't see them coming up that often. On a day-to-day basis, I'm not going to be oh, tell me about this random feature, versus setting alarms, getting directions, sending messages. I use the Google Home a lot for, asking for recipes or calendar events. What do I have coming up? Stuff like that. So I'm curious, kind of what the full context of what it knows is. But I didn't see anything there that I don't think that Google Home hasn't done for a while. Google Assistant, sorry.
Yeah, on your phone. Yeah, I think. Google was far ahead of. It wasn't even until this talk that they even said the words artificial intelligence. They've never in any of their marketing ever. They've always said machine learning. They've always said that. This is the first time they've even said the words artificial intelligence. And then, of course, true Apple special, they rename it to Apple Intelligence.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, they actually want to overthrow AI. AI will be Apple Intelligence. AI, which one? Apple's?
Yeah.
I have an educated guess what they're doing on local. I feel I could be totally wrong with this. I feel they're using OpenAI strongly. I don't know if they would just develop their own LLM or take it from basis. But on device, and I think this is the important piece and why they are able to say privacy and all of that. If you are just doing the data, what you call it, the context fetching on device, and the embedding on device, then you already can be very secure and still have the power of those server models, because at that point you're just sending back and forth tokens, encrypted data. They don't even need to know where it's coming from or what was the original source. But we know there's a lot of LLM usage just to get the data, have it in the right way, and then send it up for processing.
I'd be curious. Maybe I'll play with Siri this weekend or something. My wife has an iPhone. My friend, who won't be named, works on the Google Home. Well, he works for the language processing team there, and I believe they're looking for keywords basically, so you don't have to say the exact phrase that it's expecting, and that's gotten a lot better. So you can say, hey Google, can you please send a message to this person that says this, and it figures all that out. Even though, I said it totally naturally, it's okay, send message, it's doing something. Now, if I just started talking to it in a paragraph form, obviously we'll have a little bit more trouble, but so would an LLM, unless you've told it to specifically pull out action items. Yeah, so. I'm
excited. I don't think they rolled this out. I think it's coming out with the new iPhones. On this one, they talk a little bit about this in the later part, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think too, conversational context, like you just mentioned, that's going to be really key. for sure. So we talked a little bit about ChatGPT, and we know that they made a partnership deal with OpenAI. So, which is very, once again, they literally just said your data shouldn't go on to be housed in some place that's training. Oh, by the way, meet our new partner, who's doing exactly that. Like, what? So let's talk about maybe they talk a little bit about how they're using, if they're using ChatGPT, but that's once again the transparency piece. Is it your own LLM? Is it on-prem? I didn't see, as you mentioned before, when she was showing this, like, does this need to go out to the to get information? Maybe they talk about that in the developers piece, but let's take a look at where they announced the partnership with OpenAI.
Artificial intelligence tools available that can be useful for tasks that draw on broad world knowledge or offer specialized domain expertise. We want you to be able to use these external models without having to jump between different tools. So we're integrating them right into your experiences. And we're starting out with the best of these, the pioneer and market leader ChatGPT from OpenAI, powered by GPT-4o. First, we built support into Siri, so Siri can tap into ChatGPT's expertise when it might be helpful for you. For example, if you need menu ideas for an elaborate meal to make for friends using some freshly caught fish and ingredients from your garden, you can just ask Siri. Siri determines that ChatGPT might have good ideas for this, asks your permission to share your question, and presents the answer directly. You can also include photos with your questions. If you want some advice on decorating, you can take a picture and ask, what kind of plants would go well on this deck? Siri confirms if it's okay to share your photo with ChatGPT and brings back relevant suggestions. It's a seamless integration. In addition to photos, you can also ask questions related to your documents, presentations, or PDFs. We've also integrated ChatGPT into the system-wide writing tools with Compose. You can create content with ChatGPT for whatever you're writing about. Suppose you want to create a custom bedtime story for your 6-year-old who loves butterflies and solving riddles. Put in your initial idea and send it to ChatGPT to get something back she'll love. Compose can also help you tap into ChatGPT's image capabilities to generate images in a wide variety of styles to illustrate your bedtime story. You'll be able to access ChatGPT for free without creating an account. Your requests and information will not be logged. And for ChatGPT subscribers, you'll be able to connect your account and access paid features right within our experiences. Of course, you're in control over when ChatGPT is used and will be asked before any of your information is shared. ChatGPT integration will be coming to iOS 18, iPadOS 18, and macOS Sequoia later this year. We also intend to add support for other AI models in the future.
So, yeah, sounds like ChatGPT's powering Siri now. They just kind of buried that. Like, oh, when you do this, ChatGPT will look at this.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like Max, you were saying that you like to use Siri when you're not by your phone, but because you're going to have to click the use ChatGPT every time if it needs to, you will need to be by your phone. Just from like what he's shown so far, like maybe like that literal click is more important than you just saying like, yes, it's okay. So, because they're not, well, at least passive listening, they're not allowed to like store anything that Siri or Google Assistant is hearing, you know? But I think that's interesting. I'm also curious like how often it will ask you about that. And then I know I have a couple topics here, but he also mentioned the paid features if you have your own account. So I'm curious how they're going to integrate all of that in and keep up with it. Because if ChatGPT is rolling out things to its UI and what it offers, like this isn't like a direct necessarily like integration. How are all the developers going to keep up with that? Are my different features going to be different now between the apps, etc.?
Yeah, we should probably do a whole developer breakdown of all the different SDKs and things like that, because I think it will be important to understand, you know, when do you use it? Is there a special, like, do you use the OpenAI APIs directly? Is there a filter that it goes through? What's happening in that filter? Like, we know from prompt engineering to how it collects the context, how it can greatly change responses. So I'm very curious. I think, of course, there's been a lot of criticism, and we've talked about it here as well too. But I had to share this. Elon always throwing his hat in the ring, especially when it comes to OpenAI. But one of the things he posted is like how Apple Intelligence works is, the iPhone's sucking in all your data, and then OpenAI is just taking that directly from there. And honestly, when he talks about this, I do agree. Like, hey, it's absurd that Apple isn't smart enough to make their own AI. Like, this is an LLM. What made them decide to go, the purchase route? This is very unlike Apple. Very, very unlike Apple to partner with something like this. They just, where they really just caught that flat-footed. But one of the things I saw here, if Apple integrates OpenAI at the OS level, then Apple devices will be banned at my companies. They will be stored in a Faraday cage. Like, that is pretty, and this is not just some, tinfoil hat person sitting in their RV. This is, someone who knows how this technology works. And knows the integration and what it takes. I'm curious, does that affect, everything would that affect your wanting to use this? Do you think those steps are valid?
I made it. It kind of depends on what you're using it for. I don't know, it's probably 15 years ago. I won't say what triggered it for me, but I was like, hey, your data's getting out there one way or another. Not like from a security breach, but like just browsing the web. You sign up for something, like you don't even know like where it's going and who it's getting sold to or passed to or whatever. So I was like, if I'm not sending like super private information or like pictures and things like that, I'm like, if my experience gets better, I'm like, it's just kind of like part of like how the internet works. Now I know there's definitely things that are more secure, you want to be more secure about, but there's this level of trust there that needs to happen. Different conversation, but even the penalties for like that trust being broken like aren't high enough. Except the EU's like on the right path. Expense. Yeah, and they're like, oh, we'll just do a class action lawsuit where the lawyers get like 75% of it. And they're like, hey, there was a data breach in Facebook. Here's your $3. And I'm like, I don't know what was breached, but I'm going to say whatever it was is probably worth more than $3 to me. Like, you might as well just not send me anything,
That's the biggest thing I think that people don't understand is how much this data can be used, how much it's getting out. I think when I talk to people about it, when they hear about like, oh, TikTok being banned, they hear, like, oh, it's just, I don't care if, this company knows about X, Y, Z. And it's like, I think when you start peeling back that layer of why that's important, especially now in the age of AI, it's very important to understand and to own your data. You were going to say something, Max?
Yeah. I was just checking a little bit of like the architecture they have up. It would be super cool if people are interested. We can do a breakdown of it, like more technical approach. They from the start talk about like we have some models on the phone and some models that run on the server. Who's to say who created those models? Even they are running on the device. Who's to say I should trust more the server on my pocket, that computer running on my pocket more than the ones they have at, California. The trust has to be built somewhere else to me. They have to show the ways. They have to come up. I don't know if it's an organization that will create the way that we validate AIs, but this is going to have to be like a human approach because we want this. I feel like we all want this. We want them to help us be more and be better in whatever that is, but we want to be able to trust them. And that's the biggest problem for most people is like trust. Giving it my data, trusting what it tells to me. So not just a chipset.
Yeah, very good point. I think, we have to be able to trust these companies. I think trust is very lacking in tech companies. Just from their own actions too. So talked about the humans. So let's kind of pivot over to Nvidia, where I think they're trying to get rid of the humans with their new, they just had a conference in Taiwan where they announced a few new things But one of the ones I want to talk about was digital humans, and they're kind of this new, push for agents and for technology to, we talked about, technology that acts on your behalf. This is just only going to be accelerated, and especially with technologies like this and how we interact with technology is drastically going to change. So let's pull up that.
With these AI services with text prompts and speech prompts. However, there are many applications where we would like to interact with what is otherwise a human-like form. We call them digital humans. Nvidia has been working on digital human technology for some time. Let me show it to you. And before I do that, hang on a second. Before I do that, okay, digital humans has the potential of being a great interactive agent with you. They make much more engaging. They could be much more empathetic. And of course, we have to cross this incredible chasm, this uncanny chasm of realism, so that the digital humans would appear much more natural. This is, of course, our vision. This is a vision of where we love to go. But let me show you where we are.
Great to be in Taiwan. Before I head out to the night market, let's dive into some exciting frontiers of digital humans.
Imagine a future where computers interact with us just like humans can.
Hi, my name is Sophie, and I am a digital human brand ambassador for Unique.
This is the incredible reality of digital humans. Digital humans will revolutionize industries, from customer service to advertising and gaming. The possibilities for digital humans are endless.
Using the scans you took of your current kitchen with your phone,
they will be AI interior designers, helping generate beautiful, photorealistic suggestions and sourcing the materials and furniture.
We have generated several design options for you to choose from.
There'll also be AI customer service agents, making the interaction more engaging and personalized, or digital healthcare workers who will check on patients, providing timely, personalized care.
I did forget to mention to the doctor that I am allergic to penicillin. Is it still okay to take the medication?
The antibiotics you've been prescribed, ciprofloxacin and metronidazole, don't contain penicillin, so it's perfectly safe for you to take them.
And there'll even be AI brand ambassadors, setting the next marketing and advertising trends.
Hi, I'm Ima, Japan's first virtual model.
New breakthroughs in generative AI and computer graphics let digital humans see, understand, and interact with us in human-like ways.
From what I can see, it looks like you're in some kind of recording or production setup.
The foundation of digital humans are AI models built on multilingual speech recognition and synthesis, and LLMs that understand and generate conversation.
你们部落有什么特别的习俗吗？
我们有丰富的祭祀仪式和传统舞蹈，还有对大自然的崇拜。
The AIs connect to another generative AI to dynamically animate a lifelike 3D mesh of a face. And finally, AI models that reproduce lifelike appearances, enabling real-time path-traced subsurface scattering to simulate the way light penetrates the skin, scatters, and exits at various points, giving skin its soft and translucent appearance. Nvidia ACE is a suite of digital human technologies, packaged as easy-to-deploy, fully optimized microservices or NIMs. Developers can integrate ACE NIMs into their existing frameworks, engines, and digital human experiences. Nemotron SLM and LLM NIMs to understand our intent and orchestrate other models. Riva Speech NIMs for interactive speech and translation. Audio to face and gesture NIMs for facial and body animation. And Omniverse RTX with DLSS for neural rendering of skin and hair.
So, yeah, definitely uncanny valley vibes going there. Just really creepy. Do you think that these will take off?
Not yet. The short answer of it. I mean, I'm a little... Other than like the characters that they had that were obviously meant to be like, they were game characters or some sort of like style, digital style. there's like a wide range in the quality, I don't know if that's the right word, but of the digital representation of like the digital person or digital human. You know, like the OpenAI one looked like way better than the rest of them. You know, like, and then they had to kind of like call them renders of like when they were showing like how the skin is and stuff like that. It looked way better than some of the other ones that they showed. So, have you guys seen I can't remember if we talked about it, but Google had this, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like this basically like phone booth type of thing, a video phone booth where like you sat in here and then like somebody else was a video chat and they were like wherever else, and it like basically recreated everything from the video like 100%, and these people were like blown away by it because it was like they had to be like, they felt like they were just like 3 feet away from the person, you know. We can look at it maybe next podcast. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but if it was that realistic, you know, then I do think this could take off. You know, even if it was just your doctor was talking to you versus like some random character that they've created or if you've like modified. So it's definitely cool that they can do all this, but I don't know if like I personally like really like need it versus like it might be kind of interesting. But if I go to, I don't know, I don't go to McDonald's, but I know they have like kiosks now. Like, do I need to see a digital person there to like tell me what I ordered? I'm like, I'd rather just tell it. Like, just let me tell you what I want to order and don't make me click everything.
Yeah. I think that's the goal there. Go ahead, Max.
No, okay, I'm kind of in the same boat as in like, who needs this? Who is this for? You know, who out there is sitting there like, I wish I could see a face in 3D of this ChatGPT I'm talking to. Like I would like to see those, you know, reports that say people feel better when a bot is talking to them.
I think there's a lot of lonely people out there that would say that. I mean, I think that's where I see this really. I mean, you're right. Like the information that it's giving you, whether they showed the physician, I think that's an interesting use case where the knowledge is there. She could have easily, but what value does that add to have this gaming avatar tell you that, right? So you're right, but I think going into McDonald's, like instead of clicking those things, maybe talking to someone like I'm, you know, talking to you know, someone that's taking my order, maybe that is a better user interface. Yeah, I do kind of get that, like, who is this for, and is this, you know, I could definitely see how this could be used in gaming, but in like normal customer experience, I don't know if I want to have an AI bot that I talk to.
Yeah, gaming, storytelling, anything you can, you know, entertainment, I could see it, you know, like companionship, like you said. I think that would be pretty interesting to explore without any judgment, because it would definitely help people that need assistance, you know. Venus go as far as therapy, but not therapy itself, but like just the companionship, right? But to put another example, here in where I'm at, Uruguay, now it's gotten very popular to have like, you know, people that work at big kind of buildings. They just take care of the door, like they let people come and go, and like they're supposed to be securities. You know? Now, for the past year or so, like they're just like big screens of a recording, or like somebody in somewhere else just on a camera, in theory looking through and looking at your building, right? So they've replaced somebody physically there providing security by a big screen providing security. Does it provide the same security? I don't think so, but maybe that's where this would fit, you know, having like that.
Stop that! Don't do that! Don't make me come out of this screen.
Yeah, like, how fast does this screen run after me? Yeah, like I'm pretty sure some electrical tape will fix this problem. It's like,
yeah. You tell them all of a sudden you have one of those. You have one of those Boston Dynamic dogs all of a sudden come out from behind it, like jump on you.
Yeah, or like I can see, like, you know, like just going with the McDonald's kiosk or whatever, you know, whatever type of thing it is, like just like a low level vandalism of it, you know, like, oh, I'm just gonna go like draw a mustache on this, or I know the person's face is going to be, you know, not me, a kid, or something. But it's just, I don't see the point of it, you know. I think the voice the voice to text or voice to search or conversation is huge, even in games and stuff, like if whether you're playing live and you want to ask it to how to play it, how to do something, or to, hey, I haven't been online in 8 hours. Can you summarize what happened in the game chat? That sort of thing would be huge. Hey, did anybody ask for me while I was gone? Oh yeah, this person. Those sort of catch me up things, I think on a day-to-day basis are going to be massive, and really, honestly, pretty easy to integrate in the grand scheme of things, and way cheaper than having to put any sort of kiosk or something in public spaces, so on.
I think where I see this going is less on the screens. We took in last when we talked and we saw that Google was looking at the glasses. We know that Meta's working on holograms. I think that 10 years from now, I could definitely see having some smart glasses, and when you say when you summon your personal assistant, that it's just some avatar that's there, powered by an AI model, hopefully on your own device, that knows everything about you, that can interact with you. Of course, you'll have different skins. But that's going to be interesting, especially when we're talking about kids growing up, just our own personal, because that AI avatar, your digital assistant, your digital twin, is going to know more about you, be more personal to you than any human you've ever met. And what that does to social cohesion, I just don't know. I do, as a gamer, I just saw that Civilization 7 just got announced. I could imagine going into my Civ and just being hey, what do you think of the leader? Right? You could talk to the people in the civilization, and it could be based off of, I remember in our history we did this, and it talks about past battles that you had or different monuments that you made. Having that more immersive feeling in these games, I was yeah, I do kind of want to go talk to my civs, so to speak.
It was a show, I can't remember if it was Black Mirror or it was a movie maybe, where people had their loved ones that had passed away and stuff like that they were able to talk to. Would be, I think they went deep into we've downloaded their memories and stuff like that. But outside of that, if you just think about all the photos that you've taken, Brad, we've been in thousands of photos over the last 20 plus years. If the location was on those, if there's a lot of information about when that was, maybe there was emails or conversations we've had, it might be interesting to have a representation of you, and be hey, do you remember this, or do you remember what happened here? That could be kind of interesting. But I think from a loved one's perspective, that'll really pull at somebody's heartstrings, and they'd be willing to pay for something like that if there was enough data.
I think though too, in that Black Mirror episode, and I think even there's a show called Uploads, which has it's more of a comedic take on it, where you can kind of have this kind of digital avatar in there. I think then even then I started with my own mom. I started hey, tell me stories about yourself, tell me stories there, because we're now this generation that literally the very first generation that, say 500 years ago from now, my great grandkid, hey, hopefully, knock on wood, 45, 50 years, that there's going to be even more data that's gathered about me, more things that are there to have more of a complete picture. But, how do you do that privately? It's been kind of the golden question, right? So, well, awesome. Thank you both. Yeah, it's been great to talk about these. A lot of exciting things, a lot of scary things coming out. So if you like content like this, want to see us do a developer breakdown of all the developer things, let us know in the comments. But until next time, have a great week. Bye.
Bye.